Nathan Cole didn't confront his wife when he found the deleted messages. Instead, he restored them. And what he saw at 2:17 a.m., sitting alone in the dark glow of his laptop, wasn't just betrayal. It was a name he never expected to read, a name that made his hands go still, and his entire reality begin to fracture in silence. The first sign wasn't the late nights. It wasn't even the way Elena stopped saying, "I love you," before bed. It was the way she stopped looking at him. Nathan noticed it on a Tuesday evening in early October. The city outside their Manhattan apartment buzzed with its usual rhythms, sirens in the distance, taxis honking, the low hum of a life always in motion. Inside, however, everything felt paused. Elena stood in the kitchen, scrolling through her phone. The overhead light cast a soft glow over her face, but her expression was elsewhere, distant, almost guarded. "Nathan, did you pick up Ethan's prescription?" she asked without looking up. "I did," he replied, setting his briefcase down. "He'll need to take it twice a day." "Okay. Just okay." No smile, no glance, no warmth. Nathan lingered there for a moment longer than necessary, watching her, waiting. She didn't notice, or maybe she did and chose not to react. Dinner that night was quiet, not the comfortable kind of silence they used to share, the kind that came from years of understanding. This was different. This silence had edges. Elena kept her phone beside her plate, face down, but not out of reach. It buzzed once. Her fingers moved instantly, flipping it over just enough to read the notification. Then she locked it again, too quickly. Nathan didn't say anything. "Work okay?" he asked casually. "Busy," she replied. "New client. It's a lot." "What kind of client?" She hesitated, just for a fraction of a second. "Marketing firm. Startup." Nathan nodded slowly. He knew she was lying, not because of what she said, but because of how she said it. Elena had always been a terrible liar. Her tells were small, a slight delay, a shift in tone, the way her eyes avoided his, and tonight she had all of them. Later that night, Nathan stood in the doorway of their bedroom. Elena was already in bed, turned away from him, her back slightly curled inward. The bedside lamp was off, but her phone screen glowed faintly under the covers. He watched the subtle movement of her fingers. Typing. A pause. Typing again. Then a soft smile. Not for him. Nathan felt something tighten in his chest. He walked in quietly. She didn't notice until he was already beside the bed. "Still awake?" he asked. She flinched. "Just a little. Yeah, just checking emails." "At midnight?" She turned off the screen. "Too fast." "Yeah, just quick things." Nathan sat on the edge of the bed, studying her. "Can I see?" The question hung in the air. Elena's body stiffened. "It's just work, Nathan." "I didn't say it wasn't." Another pause. Then she sighed, almost annoyed, and placed the phone face down on the nightstand. "Why are you being like this?" "Like what? Suspicious?" Nathan let out a quiet breath. "I didn't say anything." "You didn't have to." Their eyes met. For a brief moment, something passed between them, something heavy, unspoken. Then Elena looked away. "I'm tired," she said. "Can we not do this tonight?" Nathan nodded. "Sure." But he didn't move. Hours later, Elena was asleep, her breathing slow, even. Nathan lay beside her, staring at the ceiling. Then, carefully, almost mechanically, he reached for her phone. It wasn't locked. That surprised him, or maybe it was meant to. He scrolled through her messages. Nothing. Clean. Too clean. No threads, no recent conversations, no late-night exchanges. Just emptiness. Nathan frowned. He opened her photos. Normal. Emails. Work. Everything looked perfectly ordinary. And that was the problem. Because real life wasn't this empty. People didn't just stop texting. Not like this. Unless they were hiding something. Nathan placed the phone back exactly where it was. Then he lay there in the dark, eyes open, mind racing. He didn't confront her. He didn't ask questions. He didn't raise his voice. Instead, he waited. Because for the first time in 10 years, Nathan Cole wasn't trying to fix his marriage. He was trying to understand it. And somewhere deep down, he already knew. Whatever he was about to find was going to change everything. The silence didn't arrive all at once. It crept in, quiet, calculated, almost polite. At first, Nathan told himself it was temporary. Stress, work, parenthood. Life in New York had a way of swallowing people whole, turning intimacy into logistics, love into routine. But this felt different. Elena started coming home later. Not dramatically late, not enough to raise alarms. Just enough to shift the rhythm. Client dinner, she'd say, slipping off her heels by the door. Networking event. Drinks with the team. Always vague. Always just believable enough. Nathan never asked for details. Not because he didn't want to know, but because he was beginning to understand that the truth wouldn't come from her words. It would come from everything else. One Thursday evening, Nathan sat at the kitchen island, laptop open, reviewing a contract. The clock read 9:42 p.m. Elena was late. Again. He glanced at his phone. No message, no update. He stared at their text thread. Nathan, are you heading home soon? Sent 8:15 p.m. No reply. But she had seen it. The red receipt sat there like a quiet accusation. Nathan exhaled slowly, closing the laptop. He wasn't angry, not yet, just aware. When Elena finally walked in at 10:17 p.m., she looked different. Not disheveled, not guilty, just lit from somewhere else. Her cheeks carried a faint flush. Her lips curved into a smile she didn't seem to realize she was still wearing. Until she saw him. Then it vanished. Oh, you're still up. Nathan leaned back in his chair. I texted you. I know, I was busy. With? She paused, just for a second too long. Clients. Nathan nodded once. Of course. She walked past him, heading straight for the bedroom. No kiss, no touch, not even a glance back. Later that night, Nathan stood in the bathroom, brushing his teeth, watching her reflection in the mirror. Elena avoided his eyes. She moved around him carefully, like he was something fragile or something she didn't want to disturb. Big client? He asked casually. Yeah. What's the name? She froze, only for a heartbeat. Then she reached for her skincare bottle. Why does it matter? Nathan rinsed his mouth, slow, deliberate. It doesn't. Then why ask? He met her gaze in the mirror. Because you used to tell me everything. But he didn't say it. Instead, he just shrugged. Just making conversation. Elena let out a small, humorless laugh. Since when? That one landed. Nathan dried his hands, turning to face her. I didn't realize we stopped talking. Her eyes flickered guilt, irritation, something else. Can we not do this? She said, quieter now. I'm exhausted. Nathan studied her for a long moment, then nodded. Yeah, me too. But he wasn't, not even close. The next morning, Nathan woke up early, earlier than usual. Elena was still asleep beside him, her phone resting on the nightstand. This time, it was locked. That was new. Nathan stared at it for a moment, then reached for his own. He didn't touch her phone, not yet. Instead, he opened his laptop, sitting at the edge of the bed, and began searching. Not her messages, not directly, but patterns, cloud backups, shared accounts, data traces. Nathan was a lawyer. He built cases for a living. And something in his chest, cold, steady, precise, told him this was becoming one. Days turned into weeks. The distance grew. Elena stopped asking about his day, stopped laughing at his jokes, stopped touching him entirely. Even the small things disappeared. No hand on his arm, no absent-minded kisses, no lingering glances across the room. It was as if she had already left. But her body hadn't caught up yet. One evening, as they sat across from each other at dinner, the silence became unbearable. Ethan was at a friend's house. It was just the two of them, and nothing in between. Nathan set his fork down. Are you happy? The question cut through the room. Elena blinked, caught off guard. What? Are you happy? He repeated, calm, direct. She looked at him, really looked this time, and for a moment he thought she might tell the truth. But then, I don't know what you mean. Nathan nodded slowly. Yeah, he said, I think you do. Her jaw tightened. Why are you doing this? Doing what? This interrogation. Nathan leaned back, studying her. I'm asking a simple question. No, you're not, she snapped. You're implying something. Am I? Their eyes locked. The tension thickened. Elena looked away first. I'm tired, Nathan. There it was again, tired. Always tired, but never too tired for whatever was keeping her out late. That night, Nathan didn't go to bed. He sat in the living room, lights off, city glowing through the windows, his laptop open, a program running quietly in the background, data syncing, recovering, reconstructing. And then, a flicker. A folder appeared. Recently deleted. Nathan's fingers stilled. His pulse didn't spike, his breath didn't quicken. Everything inside him went still. He clicked. Dozens of message fragments, incomplete, but enough. Timestamps, patterns, a number, not saved, but familiar. Too familiar. Nathan stared at it, his mind working, connecting, remembering. He had seen that number before, somewhere close, somewhere personal. Behind him, the bedroom door creaked open. Elena stepped out, her voice soft, uncertain. "Nathan?" He didn't turn around. "Yeah?" "What are you doing?" Nathan closed the laptop slowly. Work. A lie. His first. He finally looked at her, and for the first time in weeks, he didn't search her face for answers. He already had a direction, and whatever he was about to uncover next was no longer a question of if, only who. It didn't begin with a touch, it began with attention. Elena hadn't planned it, at least that's what she told herself. It started in fragments, conversations that lingered a second too long, messages that felt warmer than they should have been, a familiarity that blurred lines before she even realized there were lines to cross. "You look tired," he had said once, his voice low, observant, not in passing, not casually. He meant it. And somehow that mattered, because Nathan hadn't said anything like that in months. The first time Elena smiled at her phone and didn't feel guilty, that was the real beginning. By November, the messages had a rhythm. Morning check-ins, midday jokes, late-night conversations that stretched into something softer, more dangerous. She started waiting for them, anticipating them, needing them. And every time her phone lit up, something inside her lifted. It felt like being chosen, seen, wanted. At home, everything felt quieter, colder. Nathan still moved through the apartment the same way, measured, steady, predictable. He asked the right questions, paid attention to the right details. But it no longer felt like enough. Not compared to the way her heart raced when her phone buzzed. Not compared to the way someone else made her feel like the most important person in the room, even when he wasn't there. "You've been distant," Nathan said one evening. They stood on opposite sides of the kitchen again, always opposite now. "I've been busy," Elena replied, not looking up. "With what?" She exhaled, irritation flickering beneath the surface. "Work, Nathan. That's what people do." He studied her. "You used to tell me about it. And you used to listen." That landed harder than she expected. Nathan's expression didn't change, but something behind his eyes shifted. "Maybe I still do," he said quietly. Elena didn't respond, because she knew she had already stopped trying. The first time she crossed the line physically, it felt like stepping into a version of herself she barely recognized, and yet also one she had been becoming for weeks. There was hesitation, a pause, a moment where she could have walked away, but she didn't, because by then she had already rewritten the story in her mind. Nathan wasn't distant because she was pulling away. He was distant first. Nathan wasn't attentive because he didn't care anymore. Nathan wasn't enough because he had stopped trying. That was the narrative she built, brick by brick, just enough to justify what came next. Afterward, she didn't cry. She didn't panic. She didn't even feel guilt. Only relief, and something dangerously close to exhilaration. At home, she moved differently, more guarded, more aware, but also strangely lighter, as if she had stepped outside the confines of her life and found something more. Nathan noticed, of course he did. He noticed everything. The perfume changed first. Subtle, warmer, not something she wore for work. Then the clothes. Nothing inappropriate, just intentional. And the phone. Always the phone. Face down, on silent, but never far. Nathan didn't ask questions anymore. That was what unsettled Elena the most. He stopped pressing, stopped confronting, stopped trying. And in that silence, she found justification. See? He doesn't care. See? He's already checked out. See? This marriage is already over. But Nathan hadn't checked out. He had stepped back. There was a difference. Every night after Elena fell asleep, Nathan sat in the living room, laptop open, patterns unfolding, call logs, data fragments, recovered messages partial, but enough. He didn't need full conversations. He needed consistency, and he was finding it. Dates that aligned with her late nights, gaps in communication that mirrored her behavior at home, a number that appeared again, and again, and again. He didn't call it yet, didn't assign a name, not out loud, because once he did, everything would become real. One night, Elena stood in front of the mirror, adjusting her earrings. It was past 8 p.m. I have another dinner, she said. Nathan sat on the couch, watching her. With the startup? She hesitated, then nodded. Yeah. Nathan tilted his head slightly. Same one as last week? Mm-hmm. What's the CEO's name again? Silence. Just for a second, but long enough. Elena turned to him, her expression tightening. Why are you doing this? Nathan held her gaze. I'm asking questions. No, she said sharply. You're testing me. Should I be? That hit, harder than anything else he'd said so far. Elena grabbed her coat. I don't have time for this. She walked past him, fast, controlled, but not calm. The door shut behind her with more force than necessary. Nathan didn't move. He didn't follow, didn't call, didn't text. He just sat there, listening to the silence she left behind. Then, slowly, he reached for his phone, opened the file. The number, still staring back at him. Familiar. Too familiar. He scrolled further, cross-referencing, searching, memory pulling at something just out of reach, a name hovering beneath the surface, almost there, almost clear. Nathan leaned back, exhaling slowly. His face remained calm, composed, controlled. But his mind? His mind was no longer searching for if. It was closing in on who. And somewhere, deep in that quiet, methodical process, a truth was forming. One that would not just break his marriage, but redefine everything he thought he knew. About loyalty, about friendship, about the people closest to him. Because the deeper Nathan looked, the more one terrifying possibility began to take shape. And if it was true, this wasn't just an affair. It was a betrayal from inside his own life. Nathan didn't confront her right away, not when the pattern became undeniable. Not when the number appeared again at 11:48 p.m., then 12:32 a.m., then 1:06 a.m., and not even when he finally found the contact hidden behind an unsaved string of digits. Because what he was building now wasn't suspicion. It was certainty. It happened on a Sunday afternoon. Quiet, ordinary, deceptively calm. Elena had taken Ethan to a birthday party in Brooklyn. Nathan stayed behind, claiming he had work. The apartment was still, sunlight stretching across the hardwood floors, illuminating the life they had built together. Photos on the wall, vacations, anniversaries, smiles that now felt staged. Nathan sat at the dining table, laptop open, phone beside him. The number stared back at him. Again, and again, and again. His thumb hovered over the screen. Then he tapped. The call didn't go through. It rang once, then disconnected. Immediate, intentional. Like the other person knew better. Like the other person recognized the number calling. Nathan's jaw tightened. That wasn't random. That wasn't coincidence. That was awareness. He didn't call again. Instead, he did something else, something quieter, something far more revealing. He opened his contacts, scrolled, stopped. There it was. A name he had passed 1,000 times without thinking. A name that had always meant trust, loyalty, history, family. Marcus Reed. Nathan stared at it, longer than he should have, because his mind rejected it before it could even process it. No, not Marcus. Not him. 15 years, college, careers, weddings. Marcus had stood beside him as his best man, held Ethan in his arms the day he was born, shared drinks, secrets, laughter, life. Marcus wasn't just a friend. He was part of the foundation. Nathan exhaled slowly, leaning back in his chair. This was ridiculous. A coincidence. It had to be. But his fingers were already moving, already dialing. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times. Hey man, Marcus's voice, casual, familiar, normal, too normal. Nathan didn't speak right away. He listened to the background noise, low music, a clink of glass, and then a voice, faint but unmistakable, a woman's voice, soft, laughing. Nathan's grip on the phone tightened. Where are you? He asked. A pause, short but there. Out, Marcus replied. Why? Nathan's eyes drifted to the hallway, to the bedroom, to the empty space Elena had left behind. With who? A chuckle. Since when do you ask questions like that? Nathan didn't smile, just answer. Another pause, longer this time, then, just some people from work. Nathan closed his eyes briefly, Work. That word again. Recycled. Shared. A lie that now had two mouths. Put her on, Nathan said suddenly. Silence. What? The woman I just heard. Put her on the phone. Marcus laughed, but it sounded forced now. You're being weird, man. Am I? Nathan's voice didn't rise, didn't shake, but something inside it shifted, hardened. Put her on the phone, Marcus. Nothing. Just air, just distance, just the sound of everything breaking, quietly. Look, Marcus said finally, tone changing. I don't know what this is about, but Nathan hung up. He didn't need to hear the rest, didn't need excuses, didn't need confirmation, because in that moment, he already knew. The room felt smaller, or maybe it was just him. Nathan sat there, unmoving, the phone still in his hand. Marcus. Out of everyone in the world, Marcus. Images flashed through his mind, not memories, fragments. Marcus at their wedding, raising a toast. Marcus laughing with Elena in the kitchen. Marcus holding Ethan, promising to always be there. Always. Nathan let out a slow breath, but there was no anger, not yet. Just something colder, something sharper, something final. Because this wasn't just betrayal, it was invasion. It was trust, dissected from the inside out. It was two people, the two people closest to him, choosing each other, behind his back, inside his life. Nathan stood up slowly, walked to the window. The city stretched endlessly before him. Alive, unaware, unchanged, unlike him. His reflection stared back from the glass, calm, composed, but different. Because something had just died. Not loudly, not violently, but completely. When Elena returned that evening, she found Nathan exactly where she left him. Sitting, waiting, still. You're home early, she said carefully. Nathan looked up at her, and for the first time, he didn't see his wife. He saw a stranger wearing her face. How was Brooklyn? He asked. Fine. Ethan have fun? Yeah. She hesitated. Something in his tone, in the way he was watching her. Too steady, too focused. What's wrong? She asked. Nathan tilted his head slightly. Nothing. A lie, but this one was deliberate. Elena shifted uncomfortably. You look off. Nathan nodded once. Yeah, he said. I guess I do. Silence stretched between them, heavy, unforgiving. He stood up, walked past her, close enough to feel the faint trace of her perfume, the one he didn't recognize, the one she didn't wear for him. Nathan? She called softly. He paused, just for a second, then, next time you're with him, he said, voice calm, almost distant, tell Marcus he should answer the phone. The words didn't land immediately, but when they did, Elena froze, completely. Nathan didn't turn around, didn't look at her reaction, didn't need to, because the silence behind him said everything. And in that silence, the truth finally stood between them, fully exposed, irreversible. Nathan walked into the bedroom, closing the door behind him. Not slammed, not dramatic, just closed. And for the first time since this began, he wasn't searching anymore. He wasn't guessing. He wasn't hoping. He knew. Exactly who had betrayed him, exactly how deep it went, and exactly what came next. Because confusion was gone. Doubt was gone. Emotion was almost gone. All that remained was clarity. Cold, precise, unshakable. Elena didn't deny it, not after that night. Not after Nathan said his name. Calm, precise, undeniable. Marcus. There was no point in lying anymore. And somehow, that made everything feel easier. The next morning, the apartment felt unfamiliar. Not broken, not chaotic, just rearranged. Like something invisible had shifted overnight, and nothing quite sat where it used to. Nathan stood in the kitchen pouring coffee, black, no sugar. He hadn't slept, but it didn't show. Elena watched him from across the room, her arms wrapped tightly around herself. She looked like someone waiting for impact, for anger, for shouting, for something loud enough to match the weight of what she had done. But Nathan gave her none of it. How long? He asked. Just that. No accusation, no emotion, just a question. Elena swallowed. A few months. Nathan nodded slowly. When did it become physical? Her breath caught. Does it matter? Nathan looked up at her. And this time, there was something in his eyes. Not pain, not rage, just focus. Yes, he said. It does. Elena hesitated. Then, 3 weeks ago. Nathan held her gaze for a moment longer, then nodded again, as if confirming something internally, a timeline, a pattern, a truth he had already begun to map out. Why him? Nathan asked. That one landed differently. Elena looked away first. It wasn't planned. That's not what I asked. Silence. Then she exhaled slowly, her voice quieter now. He listens. Nathan didn't react. He sees me, she continued, in a way you haven't in a long time. There it was, the narrative, the justification, carefully built, repeated enough times to feel like truth. Nathan set his cup down. Does he? He asked. Elena frowned slightly. What? See you. The question lingered, uncomfortable, unanswered. He makes me feel alive, she said finally. Nathan nodded. Is that what this is about? Elena's eyes sharpened. What does that mean? It means, Nathan said calmly, you're confusing attention with meaning. Her jaw tightened. You don't get to define what this is for me. I'm not, he replied. You already did. The silence stretched again, but this time it felt different. Final. I'm leaving, Elena said. The words came out steadier than she felt. Nathan didn't blink. Okay. That was it. No hesitation, no resistance, no attempt to stop her. Elena stared at him, waiting for something. Anything. You're not going to say anything? She asked. Nathan tilted his head slightly. What would you like me to say? I don't know, something, she snapped. Anything. This is our marriage. Nathan considered that, then nodded once. You've already made your decision. That doesn't mean you just accept it. Nathan met her eyes, calm, unmoved. It does for me. That wasn't how this was supposed to go. Elena felt it immediately, the shift, the imbalance. She had expected conflict, emotion, desperation. Not this. Stillness. I'm choosing myself, she said, her voice rising slightly. For the first time in years. Nathan didn't respond right away. He just watched her, as if studying something from a distance. Then, are you? He asked. The question wasn't confrontational. It wasn't mocking. It was worse. It was genuine. Elena's chest tightened. Yes. Nathan nodded slowly. Then I hope it's worth it. That landed harder than anything else. By the afternoon, she was packing. Not everything, just enough. Clothes, shoes, a few personal things, the essentials of a life she was choosing to leave behind. Nathan didn't help, didn't interfere, didn't watch. He stayed in the living room, laptop open, working. Or at least, pretending to. At one point, Elena stood in the doorway, looking at him, really looking, trying to find something, a crack, a reaction, a reason to hesitate. Nathan? He looked up. Yes. Her voice softened. This isn't about hurting you. Nathan held her gaze. I know. It's about me, she said. About what I need. Nathan nodded. I know that too. She waited. But nothing came after. No plea, no argument. No attempt to remind her of what they had built. Because Nathan wasn't trying to hold on to something that had already chosen to leave. Marcus loves me, Elena said suddenly. The words felt strange the moment they left her mouth. Too fast, too forced. Nathan didn't react. Not outwardly. But something in his eyes closed. Then you should go to him, he said. Simple, direct, final. Elena nodded, as if confirming her own decision, as if solidifying the version of reality she had created. This is right. This is freedom. This is love. She picked up her suitcase, walked to the door, paused, just for a second, waiting, hoping. Nathan didn't move, didn't speak, didn't look at her. And that, more than anything, made her leave. The door closed behind her, softly, but permanently. Nathan sat there for a long time, the apartment quiet, still, empty in a way it had never been before. He didn't cry, didn't break, didn't collapse. Instead, he reached for his phone, opened a file, photos, messages, call logs, everything he had gathered, everything he had seen, everything he now understood. Then he closed it, locked the screen, set it down. And for the first time since all of this began, Nathan exhaled, fully, not in pain, not in anger, but in something else, release, because she had made her choice, and now so had he. At first it felt like freedom. No more silence at dinner, no more careful conversations, no more feeling unseen. Elena stood in Marcus's apartment that first night, a glass of red wine in her hand, city lights spilling through the floor-to-ceiling windows. The space was sleek, modern, minimal in a way that felt intentional, temporary. But she didn't think about that, not yet. Marcus moved easily around her, confident, relaxed, different from Nathan, less structured, less predictable, more alive. "You okay?" he asked, stepping behind her, his voice low near her ear. Elena smiled faintly. "Yeah." And for a moment, she believed it. The first few days were everything she had imagined. Late mornings, laughter, conversations that stretched without effort. Marcus touched her constantly, her arm, her waist, her hair. Attention. Endless, intoxicating attention. And every time he looked at her, like she was the only person in the room, it reinforced the story she had told herself. This is what I was missing. This is what love is supposed to feel like. She didn't think about Nathan, not really. Only in fragments, moments she quickly dismissed, rewritten, minimized. He was distant. He stopped trying. This was inevitable. But illusions don't break all at once. They crack, quietly. The first crack came on a Wednesday. Elena woke up alone. Marcus's side of the bed was empty, cold. She checked the time. 8:47 a.m. No message, no note, nothing. She found him in the kitchen, dressed, scrolling through his phone. "You left early," she said softly. Marcus glanced up. "Had a call." "With who?" "Work." That word again. Work. It sounded different coming from him. Less like an explanation, more like a dismissal. Elena nodded slowly. "Okay." But something in her chest shifted, just slightly. The second crack came that weekend. They had plans. Dinner. Drinks. Something public. Something that felt like acknowledgement. But an hour before they were supposed to leave, Marcus walked out of the bedroom, already dressed down. "I'm gonna have to cancel," he said casually. Elena blinked. "What? Why?" Something came up. "What kind of something?" Marcus shrugged. "Just stuff." Stuff. Not an explanation. Not even an attempt at one. "I thought we were going out," she said, her voice tightening. "We can go another time." "You said that last time." Marcus sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Elena, don't make this a thing." A thing. That's what she was becoming. An inconvenience. "I left my husband," she said suddenly. The words came out sharper than she intended. "I know," Marcus replied, his tone flat. "And you don't think that matters?" Marcus looked at her then, really looked. And for the first time, there was no warmth in his eyes. "Of course it matters," he said. "But that was your choice." The words hit harder than anything Nathan had said, because they were colder, more detached. "You said you loved me," Elena whispered. Marcus exhaled. "I care about you." "That's not the same thing." He didn't respond. And that was the answer. The third crack didn't feel like a crack. It felt like a collapse. Elena found the message by accident. Marcus had left his phone on the counter, screen lit up, a notification, a name she didn't recognize, but the preview, that was enough. "Last night was fun. When can I see you again?" Her stomach dropped. Her fingers trembled as she picked up the phone, scrolled, opened. There were more. Not just one, not just recent, a pattern. Different names, different conversations, same tone, same words. The same attention he had given her, replicated, repeated, recycled. Elena stepped back slowly, her chest tightening, breath shallow. No, this couldn't be. "Looking for something?" Marcus's voice cut through the room, calm, unbothered. Elena turned to him, the phone still in her hand. "What is this?" Marcus glanced at the screen, then back at her, and shrugged. "You're seeing other people?" she asked, her voice shaking now. "We're not exclusive." The words landed like a physical blow. "What do you mean, we're not?" Her voice broke. "I left my husband for you." Marcus's expression didn't change. "I didn't ask you to." Silence, heavy, crushing. Elena stared at him, really stared, trying to find the man she thought she knew. The one who listened. The one who cared. The one who saw her. But he wasn't there. Maybe he never was. "You said this was real," she whispered. Marcus leaned against the counter, arms crossed. It was real. Was? He didn't answer. Because he didn't need to. Something inside Elena broke then. Not loudly, not dramatically, but completely. All the justifications, all the narratives, all the carefully constructed reasons why this made sense collapsed. This wasn't love. It was attention. Temporary. Replaceable. Disposable. And she had traded everything for it. That night, she sat alone in the living room. Marcus didn't come home, didn't text, didn't explain. Her phone rested in her hand, screen dark, silent. For the first time in weeks, she opened her messages with Nathan. Scrolled, read. Every word, every moment she had ignored, dismissed, taken for granted. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard, then pulled back, then hovered again. What would she even say? Outside, the city moved on, unforgiving, unchanged. Inside, Elena sat in the quiet wreckage of her own choices, and for the first time since this began, she understood. Not just what she had done, but what she had lost. Not excitement, not attention, not illusion. Something far more rare, something far more real. And by the time that realization settled in fully, it was already too late. Elena stood outside the apartment door for nearly 10 minutes. Her hand hovered inches from the handle, trembling not from the cold, but from something far deeper, something heavier. Fear. Not of rejection, but of confirmation. The hallway was quiet, too quiet. No footsteps, no voices, no life. Just the soft hum of the building's ventilation and the sound of her own breathing, uneven, shallow. She looked different now. Not the woman who had walked out weeks ago with certainty in her steps and conviction in her voice. This version of Elena was smaller. Her coat hung loosely over her frame. Her hair, once carefully styled, now fell in tired waves around her face. Her eyes, red, swollen, exhausted, carried the weight of sleepless nights and thoughts she couldn't escape. She finally reached for the handle. It wasn't locked. Nathan was inside, sitting exactly where she remembered. The same chair, the same posture, the same stillness. But everything else had changed. He didn't look up when she entered, not immediately, just turned a page in the document he was reading, calm, composed, as if her presence hadn't just disrupted weeks of silence. Elena stepped inside slowly, closing the door behind her with a soft click. The sound echoed, louder than it should have. Nathan. Her voice cracked on his name, barely audible. He didn't respond, not yet. Just finished the sentence he was reading, set the paper down, then finally he looked at her. And that was worse than anything she had imagined, because there was nothing in his eyes. No anger, no pain, no love, just distance. Elena swallowed hard, her fingers gripping the strap of her bag tightly. I didn't know where else to go. The words came out fragmented, uncertain. Nathan said nothing. She took a step forward, then another. Each movement hesitant, like she wasn't sure she had the right to occupy the space anymore. I know I don't deserve to be here, she continued, her voice shaking now. I know that. I needed to talk to you. Still silence. Nathan leaned back slightly in his chair, not dismissive, not inviting, just neutral. Elena's breath caught. She had prepared for anger, for shouting, for something she could respond to, but this quiet, it unraveled her. I made a mistake, she said quickly, the words tumbling out now. A huge mistake. I thought it was real. I thought he... Her voice broke. She looked down, unable to finish. Nathan watched her, unmoving, uninterrupting. He's not who I thought he was, she whispered. None of it was. Her shoulders shook slightly now, her body struggling to contain the emotion building beneath the surface. I was wrong, Nathan. I was so wrong. Still, he said nothing. Elena wiped at her face, frustrated tears slipping through anyway. I see it now. Everything. You, us, what we had. She let out a shaky breath. I took it for granted. I convinced myself it wasn't enough, but it was. It always was. She forced herself to look at him, to face the man she had broken. I know I hurt you, she said. I know I destroyed everything. But I'm here now. I'm... Her voice faltered again. I'm asking for a chance. Nathan's expression didn't change. Elena stepped closer, her hands now trembling visibly. Please, she whispered. No response. The silence stretched. Seconds. Then longer. Elena's composure cracked completely. I don't have anything left, she said, her voice rising, desperate now. Do you understand that? I lost everything. Himhe was never real. That wasn't love. It was nothing. She shook her head, tears falling freely now. But you were real. You are real. And her breath hitched violently. I chose wrong. Nathan's eyes remained fixed on her, steady, unreadable. Elena's legs weakened. She stepped closer, then stopped abruptly, as if an invisible line held her back. I'll do anything, she said, her voice barely holding together. Therapy, counseling. I'll fix this. I'll fix myself. Just please don't give up on us. Her body shook now, not subtly, not controlled. Her fingers curled into her palms, her shoulders hunched inward, her entire posture collapsing under the weight of her own words. Nathan finally moved, just slightly. He stood. Elena flinched, not from fear, from hope. He walked toward her slowly, each step measured, controlled, until he stood just a few feet away, close enough to see every detail of her face, every tear, every tremor. Elena couldn't hold his gaze. Her eyes dropped instantly, shame flooding through her. I was scared, she whispered. I thought I was losing myself. I thought you didn't see me anymore. Nathan tilted his head slightly. And that justified it? He asked. His voice was calm, too calm. Elena shook her head quickly. No, it didn't. I know that now. I know I was wrong. I know I hurt you in ways I can't even begin to fix, but I'm here. I'm trying. Doesn't that mean something? Nathan didn't answer. Instead, he asked, when did you decide he was worth more than me? The question cut deeper than any accusation. Elena's breath caught. I didn't. Don't lie, Nathan said quietly. Not harsh, not loud, but final. Elena's voice collapsed under the weight of it. I don't know, she admitted, barely audible. Nathan nodded once, as if that confirmed everything. And when he left you, Nathan continued, his tone unchanged, you came back. Elena's head snapped up. It's not like that. Nathan didn't react. Then explain it. She opened her mouth, closed it. Nothing came out. Because there was no version of the truth that didn't sound exactly like what it was. Panic, regret, survival. I love you, she said finally, desperately. The words hung there, fragile, broken, too late. Nathan looked at her for a long moment, long enough for her hope to rise just slightly. Then he exhaled slowly, and in that breath, something ended. Nathan looked at her the way one looks at something already gone. Not with anger, not even with sadness, just recognition. Elena stood in front of him trembling, her hands clenched tightly at her sides as if holding herself together required physical effort. Her breathing was uneven, her eyes searching his face, desperate, pleading, clinging to something that no longer existed. I love you, she repeated, her voice breaking under the weight of it. Nathan didn't respond immediately. He let the words settle, not because they meant something, but because they used to. You didn't, he said finally, quiet, flat, certain. Elena flinched as if struck. I do now, she insisted quickly. I was confused, I was lost, but I see it now. I see everything clearly. Nathan tilted his head slightly, studying her. Now, he echoed. The word lingered between them like a quiet verdict. Elena stepped closer, her movements hesitant, unstable. I made a mistake, she said. A terrible mistake. But people make mistakes, Nathan. That doesn't mean we throw everything away. Nathan's gaze didn't soften. You didn't make a mistake, he said calmly. She froze. You made a series of decisions. Silence, heavy, final. Elena's lips trembled. I chose wrong, she whispered. Nathan nodded once. Yes. Her breath hitched. Tears streamed freely now, unchecked, her body beginning to fold inward as the truth pressed down on her from all sides. "But I'm choosing you now," she said, almost pleading. "Doesn't that matter?" Nathan didn't answer right away. He just looked at her, really looked. Not as his wife, not as the woman he loved, but as someone he finally understood. "No," he said. The word was soft, but it shattered everything. Elena staggered slightly, as if her body couldn't absorb the impact all at once. "What?" Her voice barely existed. Nathan didn't repeat himself. He didn't need to. "I'm here," she said, her voice rising in panic now. "I came back. I'm trying. Why isn't that enough?" Nathan's expression remained unchanged. "Because you didn't choose me when it mattered." The sentence landed like a closing door. Elena shook her head frantically, stepping closer again, her hands reaching for him, but stopping just short, afraid to touch. "That's not fair," she cried. "I didn't understand what I had. I do now." Nathan's eyes held hers, steady, unmoved. "And now you want it back." She broke completely then. Her knees weakened, her posture collapsing as sobs tore through her chest. "I lost everything," she choked out. "I lost him, I lost us, I have nothing left, Nathan." Nathan's gaze didn't waver. "That's not my responsibility." The cruelty of it wasn't in the words. It was in their truth. Elena covered her mouth, shaking violently now, her entire body unraveling under the weight of consequences she could no longer escape. "I can't do this without you," she whispered. Nathan exhaled slowly, and for the first time, there was something in his eyes. Not love, not pain, but something close to closure. "You already did," he said. The room fell into silence. Not the tense silence from before, not the fragile silence filled with hope. This was different. This was the silence of something ending, completely. Elena stood there, crying, broken, waiting, still hoping for something to change, for him to soften, for him to hesitate, for him to take it back. He didn't. Instead, Nathan stepped past her, calm, measured, unstoppable. She turned quickly, panic flooding her expression. "Where are you going?" she asked, her voice desperate, fragile. Nathan paused at the doorway, just for a moment. Then, without turning back, "You didn't lose me," he said. A breath, a pause, a final truth. "You gave me away." The words didn't echo. They didn't need to. They settled, heavy, permanent. Elena's body gave out. She sank to the floor, her sobs no longer controlled, no longer quiet. They tore through the silence, raw and exposed, filling the space that Nathan no longer occupied. He didn't turn around, didn't look back, didn't hesitate. The door opened, then closed, softly. And just like that, he was gone. The apartment felt larger now, empty in a way that couldn't be fixed. Elena sat on the floor, her hands gripping the fabric of her coat, her breath coming in broken gasps as reality settled in around her. This wasn't temporary. This wasn't a phase. This wasn't something she could fix. This was the end. Days turned into weeks, weeks into something heavier, quieter. The calls stopped, because there was no one left to call. Her name, once respected in her professional circles, began to shift. Whispers, subtle exclusions, invitations that no longer came. People knew. They always did. Marcus had moved on, effortlessly, like she had never existed. Nathan, on the other hand, didn't look back, not once. He moved forward, not loudly, not dramatically, but completely. And that was the difference. Because Elena had chased a feeling, a moment, an illusion, and lost everything that was real, while Nathan lost everything and still walked away whole.